Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I am Renee Allen, the host of this podcast. I have a new little motto for the podcast, but of course I can't remember without going to my website. Let me see if I can remember. Feel seen, find solutions. 2 F's, do you get that? And 2 S's. Feel seen, find solutions. That is two of my goals for this podcast is to help you feel seen, to help you recognize that there are a lot of people dealing with the same struggles that you have with ADHD, and also to give you support, ideas, and help you find solutions. I know for me anyway, when I hear people's advice or ideas, sometimes there's an idea that I just grasp and think, yes, that is what I want to do. Other times, it's not something I want to do, or at least not in that way. And with our creative minds, a lot of times, and how different we are, a lot of times, what we do is take that information and then kind of gauge it with our lives and the way things work for us and then come up with your own solutions. And so that's my goal is not to give you the solutions, but to give you information about ADHD, present scenarios, maybe some ideas, and then you take that with your own wonderful mind and hopefully find some solutions to help you with your ADHD. But today, or should I say tonight, it is late. I came in here, see, right now it's 20 minutes till 9 o'clock at night. I came in here this afternoon and thought, I have an hour and a half before I teach yoga on Zoom. I'm going to set things up and then record my podcast. Well, what happened was I set things up, and sometimes setting things up can take a lot longer than I thought. And this is a really good idea. It's a really good example of time blindness. I was in here for a little while. I looked at the clock and I thought, oh my goodness, you only have 20 minutes until your yoga class. You spent so much time doing this that you're going to have to wait till later. And so when I teach yoga, I have the webcam facing the other part of the room. I have all the lights that I have set up facing the other part of the room and the microphone. And so I had to unplug a lot of things and set things up for yoga. I go to sign on 10 minutes later and I find out that I had forgotten in my brain what time yoga was. I thought it was at 5:30, it was at 6:30. And part of that is I'm computing like what time is it in California compared to where I am. But yeah, so 2 time glitches, 2 time blindness examples is one, not keeping track of the time of how much time I was spending getting ready. But 2, believing that I'd actually spent over an hour, because I really did believe it's possible. There's been times that I spent over an hour when it felt like 10, 20 minutes. Anyway, maybe I came in here earlier. I have no idea. But the whole point is by the time I set up for yoga, I thought you actually have more than an hour and you could be recording your podcast. But it was too late. I already set things up and I didn't want to have to set it up over and over again. So here I am after yoga and a little bit after that because okay, another thing that's ADHD is I went in the kitchen to find something to eat in between and saw an English muffin in the toaster. Story of my life. If I put something in the toaster, 99% of the time I'll forget that I put it in there. So I go in there over an hour later, 2 hours later, and oh yeah, I put an English muffin in the toaster that I forgot about. Don't know if you do any of that, and that's not, well, it's not super related to what I'm talking about, but the eating part is. And what I wanted to talk about today is why we might tend to snack more than eat meals or snack in addition to eating meals. The traditional meals, at least pretty standard in the US, is 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some parts of the world, it's different or different cultures. When I was growing up, my mom said in the South, they called it supper, not dinner. But then Sunday dinner wasn't actually dinner, it was lunch. We would come home from church, and Sunday dinner could be at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whenever. That was Sunday dinner because we would eat more of a dinner kind of meal at lunchtime and then be done with it. When I was cooking for my kids, we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then at some point, I got really tired of making dinner because it's a lot of work, and most of the time I didn't plan ahead, and and then I'd be trying to decide what to cook and find out I didn't have the ingredients of what I felt like cooking. So a lot of times I'd make very similar meals, and at some point, and this is a long time ago when I still had kids in school, I just stopped making dinner. We just found food, kept it simple, had popcorn, different things. A lot of that also had to do with my older kids and their busy schedules, especially my oldest son. He would come home from lunch and he didn't want the 3 meals a day. He wanted 2 meals a day. So he'd come home from school really hungry, make his own food, make a full on dinner, which wasn't always a dinner. It could be burritos, it could be pizza, but a lot of times if he did cook something, he would divide the recipe into fourths or sixths or something and just make a single serving for himself, which now online there are single serving recipes. But at some point I decided I'm not cooking anymore because he'd already eaten and then he didn't want dinner. I didn't feel it messing up the kitchen or figuring it out, and so we just started fending for ourselves and just finding food. And it went along with how I felt during the day of, "Am I hungry? I think I'll get something to eat." And sometimes I take time fixing stuff. When my kids were little, I always cooked for them, and but once they were old enough to make their own things, it's kinda like laundry. They're old enough to do their laundry, they're old enough to make themselves some food or heat something up. But I always have thought of myself as a grazer, and if you need more dopamine, if you need that dopamine hit, eating something, especially eating sugar, but eating something can bring you that stimulation and and it can help you have a little bit more energy to get something done. Or it can just help with kind of restless energy. But let me give you some key reasons why we might snack or graze or not eat real meals. One is that we have lowered dopamine availability. We we don't have enough dopamine to meet the needs of our brain, of the dopamine receptors. So we need more. It's like I've mentioned this before, but it's like you're paying rent and you have the same amount of money as somebody else, but your rent is a lot higher. So you're not gonna make the payment. And that's how it is with the dopamine. We have more dopamine receptors that need dopamine, and we have the same amount as other people. At least this is how I had it explained to me. And we need more dopamine. It's not like we have low dopamine. We just require more. And snacks give that kind of reward. Things like online shopping, that can give that kind of reward. It can give a dopamine hit. And a full meal actually requires some kind of organization, some planning, some gathering the ingredients and not forgetting what you're doing, some cooking, some waiting, some making sense of a recipe, or reading the box, or throwing it away and then you look at the box again. A lot of our meals now we can just read a box, but you go to heat up the oven, then you think, how many minutes was it, or whatever. But a snack can be immediate. It can give you that taste that you need, that sensory stimulation, and it can give you a quick dopamine boost. And so snacking throughout the day can meet that requirement a lot easier than stopping what you're doing and taking the time and the energy and the brain power to make food. Does this mean that we shouldn't do it? No, but if we aren't doing it, that may be why. And your brain will naturally gravitate towards something that has the fastest reward, and a snack can do that. If you don't have snacks and you're walking around the kitchen like, "Oh, no, what do we eat? What do I eat?" or nothing sounds good, that can be a problem. I deal with that a lot. But if you do have a dopamine boost or you're in some kind of mood where you feel like, "I could actually make something right now," and then you can make extra. I like making, like, baked oats or where you can just grab them. It's like a muffin, but it's not as puffy. Or, I don't know, I even make Perfect Bars. Perfect Bars? They've gotten twice as expensive in the past couple of years since I've discovered them. And so I have a copycat Perfect Bar recipe. It takes some effort for me to make them, not because it's hard, to do it. It's just that I don't like chopping the chocolate chips, and you don't even have to chop chocolate chips. It calls for mini chocolate chips, but I like the way it tastes better with them cut up, and I don't like cutting them. So that's kinda lame, huh? I've tried the little, Pampered Chef chopper thing, that like, will chop up nuts, but it makes them too powdery. So that's my we all have a thing that we dread sometimes, and that's the thing that I dread with that is getting the chocolate chips like that, but I do have to have a lot of chocolate chips, so every once in a while, I'll make them, and they'll last me a really long time. It's not that you don't want a real meal. I think about this sometimes about how if I'm thinking I should make some eggs, and eggs, granted, are pretty quick to make. I should make some eggs, but it's really hard for me to talk myself into it. And part of it is I don't even think eggs sound good right now. I'm only thinking to make some because they have protein and it can be quick. And I don't know, I used to have scrambled eggs for breakfast every morning of my life all through college. And then I started looking around and nobody else was doing that. Not everybody else was eating eggs every morning. But when I think about going to a restaurant, especially at breakfast time or even at nighttime, like, "Oh, an omelet." I can make omelets at home, but it's not the same as ordering out, and sometimes just talking ourselves into even wanting to do it or feeling like it's gonna be good can be part of the problem, whereas if somebody else cooked it and we walked in, there's some joyful thing about that that makes it taste better. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So even just making the decisions, you get that decision paralysis and it can be overwhelming because there are so many decisions with a meal. It can be the main dish, what sounds good, and then once you have the main dish, or do you even start with the main dish? Sometimes when people come over, I start with the bread because I can make bread pretty easily. I have a fast French bread recipe that my friend gave me years ago. It's pretty quick and it's a yeast bread, but it's quick. And then, of course, the homemade bread, not sourdough. Sourdough has too many steps. I can make it, but, eh, it's too much because you have to really be on it to do all the things at the right time. You don't have to do that with yeast bread as much. But anyway, yeah, so sometimes I start with the bread because if you can impress people with bread, then the other stuff doesn't matter anymore. That's or as much. That's my motto. But you think about what sounds good, then you think about what ingredients you have. If you don't have all the ingredients, then you either have to go to the store, change what you're going to make, or look for substitutions. Or if you have a creative brain that likes to break the rules, like mine, you think, well, it's okay if I don't have that. I'll just use this instead. And then you might have either a good experience and then forget how you made it, and then you can't duplicate it. And that's actually a positive thing because at least you got to eat. But the other thing is you make it and it doesn't turn out. And that's really disappointing to put in all that effort and then not have it turn out. I get really tired of that. Happens a lot. And then do you even feel like standing at the stove? Maybe you're tired. Maybe you don't want to be doing that. Maybe you want to do something quick. And so you have to think about what to make. You have to find the ingredients. You find out you need to clean out the fridge. You can have all these distractions that start to tell you, I need to do this instead. And it just seems like it takes a long time and it might not be worth the effort. And for those who love to cook, it's totally worth the effort. I know Gwyneth Paltrow, she talks about that all the time. She used to cook with her dad. And I think of her in my kitchen like, I would love to feel like that. I'd love to feel like that. Like, I want to cook because I love the experience, but I don't anymore. Once upon a time I did. So I've made peace with not having a meal be a meal. It can be popcorn. It can be a smoothie. It can be some bar that I bought or made or something, cereal. And I know this isn't the most nutritious advice, maybe it's not the best thing for the brain, but my smoothies are. They're packed full of things. I think of smoothies like the cold version of a soup because a soup can have vegetables. It can have all the things in your kitchen that you just throw in there, and a smoothie can be the same thing. And you can put vegetables in it with a green powder, or if you have greens, throw them in the freezer as soon as you buy them because, like, if you have pre-washed spinach or kale or something, put it in the freezer. If you put it in the fridge first, a lot of times it starts gassing, and then it tastes yucky, and it ruins your smoothie. And if you put it in the fridge and forget to use it, then you end up throwing it away. So, no fun, no fun. But snack just makes it so much easier to not have all those decisions. You see it, And if you have your house full of snacks that you like and that will give you that nutritional boost, then it's not a hard decision. And instead of trying to think of all the different pieces of it, you can just choose drink, snack, or just a drink, or just a snack. But usually I get thirsty with certain snacks. So I can grab some crackers or cheese or something like that. So you may snack over and over because it might not fill you up as much, and it might just be easier to do that. But another reason why we might snack is that time blindness can cause you to not realize how much time has passed, and you might start to feel hungry and you might ignore it. I didn't used to ignore it. Before I went at ADHD medicine, I was more hungry, but now I can mask it a little bit better. And then when you are just lost in whatever you are doing because of that time blindness, you don't realize you're hungry until you're super hungry. And you might be doing something that's like hyper focus and you're cleaning or you're talking to a friend or whatever, and you are missing the early hunger signals. And so then all of a sudden you're just super, super hungry and you can't wait to make something. You just have to grab something fast. You don't have a meal prepared. If you do like prepping meals on the weekend, I used to do that, or late at night, I used to do that. You can have something that you can just hurry and eat and it's already ready. Or like those oat are those like salads and oatmeals and things, like they're stacked and layered in a jar? I think I made one of those once. I used to always make smoothies too and just have them to grab in the fridge. But now I usually just like fill up a blender, make enough to last me 2 days or something, but a lot of times I people in the house eat them, so that doesn't happen. But, yeah, your brain needs the energy, your brain needs that to be able to think and keep going. And, comfort eating. So serotonin can play a role in how we eat too. And when you have comfort foods, the things that have a lot of carbohydrates, carbs, it can make you feel calm. It can make you feel at ease. It can help you regulate your emotions. It can relieve stress. And I used to feel guilty for comfort eating. People would talk about it in a bad way, but now I think of it as medicinal. Like it can be helpful. Ice cream calmness has been when I'm super, super stressed. I try not to keep ice cream in the house very often because of that, because I know it's not that good for me, or maybe not good for me at all. But but ice cream was my go-to when I just needed a break, and I just go lock myself in a room and eat ice cream when my kids were growing up. And it's not like they were looking for me or anything, but it just felt good to be alone and eat ice cream at the same time. And that's, I think, a really good blend of fats and carbohydrates, the sugar being the carbs. But any kind of food like that can help balance out your emotions a little bit just to kind of, especially if you love it so much, you're in your total comfort zone getting that comfort food. But you can have your emotions just go up and down and think, "Ah, I just need this." And yours might not be ice cream, it might be chips, it might be something like that. Sometimes just the chewing of something or the crunching can be calming. Popcorn, very calming for me. It can help with overwhelm, it can help with anxiety, it can help with the rejection sensitivity. That's been I don't know, I don't know that I have RSD to the point that some people do, but I've been noticing more rejection sensitivity in myself lately, and I have to just really give myself a talking to, but like the logic of it, but it can keep showing up. So another thing is snacks are are designed, the ones that we buy, like we typically think of snacks. Maybe ice cream isn't supposed to be a snack, it's dessert, but cookies, chips, now there's bars, now there's whatever. But the ones that are not very healthy, they're designed to have a lot of flavor. So they'll have either a blend of sugar and salt and fat, or fat and salt and carbs like the potatoes or the corn, the tortilla chips, or whatever it is. And they're designed to make us wanna eat more. And I learned about this once that it it does something to your brain that makes you just want more and more and more. And it's not just the pleasure of it, it's something more scientific than that. Now, high fructose corn syrup, that actually does trigger that to where your brain doesn't know whether you're full or not. Have you heard that before? And thankfully, high fructose corn syrup has been one of those things that people discovered probably 10, 15 years ago about this is really bad for us. Let me look it up really fast because I used to read nutrition books all the time. That's one of my, let's see, high, what's it called? Corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup. My brain just went away. Let me just see if it's addictive. What does it do to it's something with the sensors in the brain. Sorry to be typing well. Um, it significantly alters the brain signaling, dampening the brain's I'm full sensor compared to natural sugars. So this is AI telling me this, but this is what I used to read. And even if you go to the National Institute of Health.gov, I don't know if you've ever looked that up. It's ncbi.mlm.nhd. I just know all those letters mean that it's official. They've done studies on it. And they have all these effective excessive high fructose corn syrup. So they add that to foods partially because it's super, super cheap, but also because they know that we will keep eating and then we will keep buying it. Isn't that crazy? So it can be the same with chips and stuff. They find like, what's that amount of salt that will make us think, yum, 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 and want more. But yeah. So a meal isn't going to be as exciting unless it's really, really good or you're a really, really good cook or somebody else cooks in your house. But it might not be as exciting as just being able to sit and get all that pleasure from snacking. A meal is one plate, one little experience, and snacking can just be a variety all day long. But sometimes they snack on the same thing all day long. So it may not be variety, but you get to keep choosing. And it's not a hard choice. It's like choosing between all these yummy things. And maybe you're not as picky of an eater as I am, but I have a hard time being really pleased by a meal, especially at home. But if I go out to dinner, I still have to plan that out. But when I find food that I like, that's a meal, I'm just so happy. I'm so happy because most of the time I'm disappointed. Oh, and then also even with the decision making, you might be putting a lot of pressure on yourself, like, well, I should cook, so you're not going to feel it's starting you off on a bad foot of guilt or feeling like, well, it needs to be healthy. Like, I feel like making lasagna, but it's not healthy enough, Well, it needs to be a protein, it needs to be a vegetable. And and it might feel just difficult to meet all those needs. I know there are other people in the world, and maybe this is your hyper focus and it's really easy for you, but there are the people who track their carbs and they track their protein and they just know how to line it all up. And that's like, that's easy peasy, but it might not be you. I know it's not me. Not me at all. So if you're on ADHD medicine, like a stimulant, Adderall, Vyvanse, Ritalin, Concerta, it increases dopamine and does other things. But make it can also make you less hungry. And so that might help with snacking. I'd say initially when I started taking stimulants, I wasn't snacking as often, but I'd say when I am hungry, I still would rather have a snack because it doesn't take much effort. But when you are not on medication, and maybe you don't want to be on medication, or maybe for a million years, like me, you weren't on medication. I used food to seek the dopamine to get some stimulation, or when I'm just thinking I need to be doing something else. Well, it's way easier to do something fun, which is really quickly go in the kitchen and get something sugary or something. It breaks up the boredom of the day or the pressure to do something else. It can help regulate your emotions. It can give you some energy. So, so yeah. And when you take medication, if you are taking medication, your hyper focus might get stronger. You might already have a hyper focus out of control anyway, but you might not want to stop when you're hungry. I didn't used to think that would be a thing. My husband used to always say he didn't like stopping what he was doing to eat, and it seemed like a hassle to have to stop 3 times a day and eat something, and I thought, "What kind of planet are you on? Like, all I wanna do is eat." Always loved eating, and that changed at some point. I like it, but, you know, if I was a teenager again and could eat anything I wanted and didn't feel the effects, then that'd be one thing, but I do have to eat healthily to some degree and not eat too much and all that. But what else do I have here? Oh, impulse control. Do you have a problem with impulse control? Snacking can be impulsive. You might plan on having dinner 6 o'clock, and you might even have it cooking in the corner or something in a crock pot. Do you do crock pots or Instapot or something like that? But if you have a hard time waiting, you might eat something else first. And there could be just a lot of ways that impulsiveness can show up. That you want to go for something tasty or go do something else instead. You're ignoring the things that might be better for your body or that you planned on. But one of the things that ADHD coaches advise to do is to eat. If you are forgetting to eat because you're taking medication, then eat a protein-rich breakfast. Eat something solid in the morning that will sustain you for a while in case you are resisting eating. And you might also skip meals or just skip eating altogether if that's happening and you're not snacking all day. You're kind of like me when I first took medication and thinking I used to snack all the time, but now I'm not. And and it might be okay in your body. You might even be losing weight and being happy about that, something that you've wanted to do for a long time and you're losing weight. But if it's causing you to have brain fog or more emotional dysregulation, become more irritable, your brain needs the food as well as the rest of the body. And so you have to maybe set a reminder to eat and maybe plan ahead at those times when you have more energy, when you have the ability to do something productive, whether it's order food online or go shopping for food or make something, that when you are more depleted and you just need to reach for something quick, you have options. That's my favorite thing is when I have so many snack options, and it can even be fruit. Fruit could be my snack. But whatever those snacks are, I have them out and I think I walk in the kitchen and I think, oh, good, I can have a peach. I forgot about peaches. And because if you're forgetful with your ADHD, it's always a surprise. Or, oh, there's this in the toaster. I've never made a smoothie that I can think of that I've forgotten about, but I have made popcorn and forgotten that I turned on the popcorn popper or forget to put the bowl under it. I forgot. Well, okay, this isn't a forgetting thing. I put pepper on my popcorn again the other night. Can't believe that I've done that twice. It was dark again. We have a projector and we have it dark in there, and so I can blame it partially on the darkness. Well, the first time I did it, I was eating it when I kept thinking, "Why does this not have enough salt?" That was the first thing. "Why does it taste spicy?" This time I could smell it, so thankfully I didn't eat it 'cause, ugh, what a waste. What a waste. Oh. So what about chewing food? How does that help us when we have ADHD? And for me, snacking gives more chewing capacity than eating a meal. Unless it's something like cereal has some chewing, but something with the chips or the crackers or that have, that crunch. I guess carrots could do it too, or celery, but chewing provides a sensory input. And so you think of, like tapping your pencil or moving your foot or, just kind of that movement or something. The chewing can do it too. I love to chew ice, and I know some people hate that. I mean, the dentist has told me it's bad for years, and I know people hate hearing it, but I don't do it everywhere. So hopefully the people in my home, and they haven't said they hate it, but oral stimulation like that, being able to chew on something, some people like to chew gum, that movement or repetitive rhythmic activity can be something that we need. our nervous system may need that. You might find yourself swaying or moving. The chewing on something can help too. And I find like with the ice or super cold drinks, I don't know, that just does something to it. Just doesn't give me a brain freeze. It helps my brain. It does. And then chewing can also keep you awake. Like if you're driving or something and you are having a hard time. I mean, that's a really good example. If you're on a long trip or something and you want to make sure I stay awake, you have different things. You have music or a podcast to listen to or something to keep you alert. Eating can do the same thing. I'm a big fan of eating on road trips because it can be hard. One time I went on a road trip and it was, let me think where I lived at the time. It was like a 3-hour drive. And this is back in the mid 80s, I think. And I drove a little Datsun. It was actually my family's car. I didn't own a car until I got married, but the stereo broke. And so I had no music. We didn't have cell phones or anything like that back then. There were no computers. And so I'm on this 3-hour drive and I had a few snacks and stuff, but I was getting bored and I needed some kind of stimulation. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I was going up to see my cousin. And so I started just singing, but singing wasn't enough on my own. I had to do hand motions while I was singing with each finger and, like a hand or whatever. I wasn't really dancing. It was just doing things that, like three chartreuse buzzards, I could do three or whatever. I don't know. But sometimes we need that to stay alert. And during the day, if you're trying to get work done at your computer or you're walking around the house trying to get things done or wherever you work, you might need a little pick me up. And chewing can do that. Um, your brain doesn't always need food. Sometimes it just needs a stimulation. Sometimes we're just bored. I don't know if you eat walking around. I do a lot. And I did a challenge. I challenged myself once. And I was doing this with some other friends that we made goals and we would report about how we were eating and stuff. And my goal was to only eat sitting down. And it wasn't like a super like we need to be mindful eaters and notice how the food tastes in our mouth and that sort of thing. I had done a challenge like that once. So I was making it a little easier for myself, but I was telling myself that I could not eat standing up or walking around. I needed to be sitting down at a table. And I did notice that when I sat down to eat, it was a lot more pleasurable, but I also noticed that there were quite a few times that I was just walking through the house with strawberries in my mouth or something, and I'd think, "How did that happen?" Like, I'm walking and eating right now, and I don't even know where I got them, and they'd been on a plate that one of my kids had or something, and I was so used to picking something up and walking and talk about mindless eating that I didn't even know it was happening, and then I'd think, "Oh, yeah, you have this goal." That happened probably 5 or 6 times before I finally was able to catch myself, and then and I don't know if you like to eat in the car, but I like to eat in the car, like, even just on the way home from the grocery store, not just road trips. And after having that where I was always sitting at the table at home, I was headed home from Trader Joe's once, and my usual thing is, like, out of all the bags that I'm putting in the car, what do I wanna eat on the way home? I'll open up this or I'll open up that. I didn't wanna do any of that because I was so used to sitting at a table and how calming that was. I thought, "I don't wanna do that sitting in a car." And so it kinda taught me something. But yeah, you might have some mindless walking around eating too. I mean, that's, like, can you what do they say? Like, pat yourself on the head and rub your stomach at the same time in a circle? Do you ever remember that? That was an old thing to see if you could be that coordinated. And that's something we're doing to multitask is to walk, to burn off energy, although it could be also to get somewhere, and also eat at the same time. So yeah, we have a lot going on. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Another thing about crunchy foods is there are sensory qualities to them, like pretzels, especially the thick pretzels. In Florida, they have UTS, Utz. I never heard of that in California. They're really thick, and they're not the hard as a rock, really giant thick ones. They're kind of medium thick, and they're really, really good. But I like the crunch, I like the taste, and I like the feel of the salt on it. And they're not as slippery as most traditional hard pretzels. You know how they're slippery? That's okay, but these ones are just like the perfect texture. Crackers, do you ever, like, taste the bumps on the salt on the Cheez-It? That's now that I'm thinking about it, there's a lot of texture in foods, if texture is even a way to describe it. Popcorn or even peanuts. Have you ever done, like, where you eat there's a little tiny round thing at the end, and you can kinda bite that off first and then eat the peanut? Do you dissect your food like that? Popcorn. I don't know that I've really done that with popcorn, but at the end of the bowl, and I always make mine hot or proper on the stove. I always like to eat the hard ones that, the kernels that just barely pop open. It's like a corn nut or something. It's probably not good for my teeth either, but yeah, that's like a really good crunch. Maybe I'll eat that after this is over. Carrots, I mean, they're pretty good. Yeah. I have to be in the mood for carrots, and I do like them better if I put them in a jar or bowl of water so that they just really have a high water content. And then ice, yeah, and especially the nugget ice. Ah, yeah, it's the best. But they give you think of all these senses. Sound, which maybe it's not fun to hear somebody else doing that, but for ourselves, maybe it's stimulating something that we get to hear that sound. The texture that we feel with our mouths, the flavor. There's some resistance with that crunch, you feel it. And then there's just some different feedback that you get in your senses. And it's kind of funny. And I'm hoping I'm not grossing you out talking about, you know, things in your mouth so much, but I had 4 teeth pulled in the last 5 years. And the 2 back ones, I guess they're wisdom teeth, actually. I mean, a lot of people get their wisdom teeth pulled, but I've had these most of my life because I had other teeth pulled when I was younger to make space for braces. So to me, these were like molars, but I've been using them as molars for all my life. And then in the last 5 years, I had 2 pulled on this side, and then like 4 years later, the other side. Anyway, when these ones were gone in the back, made more room, so the dentist said I didn't have to have a root canal and all this stuff because stuff it just wasn't doing well. Um, I told my son, who was in dental school at the time, "I don't like how things taste on that side. I have to eat on the other side." And we get into habits of which side of the mouth we eat in. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but I try to eat on the right side instead. I'm like, "This isn't as fun." But I don't like how it tastes on the left side. And my son said, "Do you not like how it tastes or you don't like how it feels?" And I thought, well, technically how it feels, but it feels like I don't like how it tastes because we think of taste as the whole experience, but it's only a small part of the experience. And just how it feels in our mouth is a big part of it. And doing it on the non-dominant side, which for a while that became the right side became my dominant side after the left side I had my teeth pulled, but then later it went back. And I did have the other teeth pulled. But anyway, soft foods may not be the same unless it melts in your mouth so beautifully like ice cream. Then maybe so. Um, but it might be a reason why you like a sandwich. Yeah, sandwiches are really good. And I guess you could get some crunch like with onions or maybe that's why I like cucumbers in my sandwiches so much. They're really good in a sandwich. I just forget when I buy cucumbers, I put them in the fridge and then they go rotten because I forget I have them. So bad, so bad. And then chewing can also just be good, like I talked about before with, like making movements with your hands, the fidgeting, the tapping, even doodling. It's another form of that, leg bouncing, twirling your hair or whatever. It serves a similar purpose. And I found that before that when I've been trying to do something, especially sit still, being able to eat something or even just have, like in the olden days, a lot more people ate lifesavers, just having lifesavers in your pocket at school and be able to eat them. You could suck on it or it could crunch. It had a hole in it. You could put your tongue in the hole at some point when it got small enough. So it definitely gives you an activity to do. It's a total break from boredom when you're in a class or something. So, snacking, why do we do it? It's a ton of reasons why we do it. Maybe there are some people with ADHD who don't snack, and there've been times in my life that I didn't snack, mostly because I set a goal, like with some eating program, book, whatever that I read about. But even then, I don't think my meals in years have been what they used to be. Like, they're not defined. I only do it has to be a salad if there's this, I have 3 things in the meal if people are coming over. If it's just me or us at home, one thing, like, here's a lasagna, is plenty. We don't need 2 or 3 things. That's more choices to make, and coordinating and planning and everything. And, oh my goodness, how are we doing on time? When I got on here, I thought I'd really rather be watching TV. I mean, I love coming on here and talking. And when I left earlier, because I thought that yoga, I mentioned that at the beginning, right? I thought yoga was about to start, so I didn't start the podcast. And then I realized, oh, you actually got confused. It doesn't start for an hour. I thought, well, do I really have enough time for the podcast? So I went in the other room and I sent some friends of Marco Polo. I talked their ears off because I was in the podcasting mood. so, so, and one of them listens to this podcast, so she gets a double double if she if she listens to this episode. But, but yeah, yeah. We started. My husband and I like to watch TV at night and found a new series to watch. It's new to us. It's hard to find one that we both like, and then when we do, it's like, "Oh, good, let's watch a couple episodes," and then it's hard to get to sleep. 24 was the hardest one to stop. I may have mentioned that before. We were late to the game on that one too, because I watched one episode once and it scared me so bad, and I never went back for like 5 years, 10 years. And then I thought, "This is really a good show." Super good, but they were so good with their cliffhangers. Anyway, so yeah, when I'm finished with this episode, I'm gonna go watch TV. Yay! I find so with TV, I either like it to be comedy so I can sit and laugh because that's fun, or I like it to be some kind of, like Law and Order kind of murder mystery, follow the plot, or spies, or like the Bourne movies, those kind of things where it's not too complicated so I don't get lost because I could easily get lost. But But it just keeps my brain busy. It's like my brain wants to relax, but at the same time, it needs to be busy. It needs to follow a really intriguing plot. So, I think that's it for now. I think that's it for now. I'm curious what your favorite snacks are. And I have to tell you, those of you who've gone to my website and tried to get on my newsletter and, sign up for that or be in touch. I found out today that none of my emails have been going out. Only the ones I send for yoga have been going out, and I send those manually each week. But my ones that automatically go up out because you sign up hasn't been happening. That's what I get for changing my website and my email service provider. But I'm getting closer to figuring it out. I spent quite a few hours on it today, and there is a link on there. If you go to the top, it has home, podcast, yoga, newsletter, about, and contact. When you click contact, it just says email Renee, and you can click on it and it will go right to your email if you have Gmail or whatever, and it will have you email me. If you don't have Gmail, I think you might have to click on contact at the top. It has a drop down menu that says email Renee. Maybe I should make 2 drop down things. But if you just actually click contact, it'll have my email address there, which I know is gonna invite spam. I already get it from people, but, um, but it's how I can be in touch with you. I'm being brave. I'm risking the spam because, I mean, we're gonna get spam no matter what, right? Oh my goodness. I get emails from people saying it's totally written, like, by AI saying something about, "I love your podcast, Inspiring Women with ADHD. I particularly like the episode," and it will give one title, and then it will say something that doesn't sound like a human wrote it. And if you wrote me one of those and you were a human, then I apologize. Write me again and say, "I really am a human." I would much rather get an email like that, like, "I really am a human," because the others, I just block them and, send them to spam. Now that I say that, if you've done that, I've blocked you, but I really don't think I've blocked you because I get the emails not where I put this link. I don't get the spam there. I get it with the email address that I use to register my podcast. I think that goes to some place where people can go and look at some registry and see if that I have a podcast. And they're little liar pants. They aren't really listening. So I can tell who's real. And hopefully you can tell I'm real because when I send an email, it will be from me. Anyway, so yeah, once I get this all figured out, those of you who have signed up, I can see that you signed up and that no emails or anything went out to you. So I will get you in there and probably add a little bit apology. Oh my goodness. Now I'm feeling that hunger that I was telling you about from doing something else. But thank you for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Where am I? I'm just trying to click on the right screen. Anyway, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I will be back. I know I always say that, and I am back, but I try to be consistent. And I think when I'm back, I'm back. And when I'm not, I'm not. But hopefully I'll be consistent enough that you'll stick with me. I'm grateful for those of you who have. Talk to you later. Bye. Help other women find the show. Rate, review, share with someone you know. Help other women find my show. Rate, review, share with someone you know. Hurry before you forget. Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause. No time for a pause. The silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.